On this week's episode of The Geek State, hundreds of TV shows are made every year and some never see the light of day. We watched the Elvira Show pilot and live to tell the tale.
Bowser is taking over Nintendo, but only the North American office.
Hugh Jackman sets records and lightsabers are a real sport. All that and more on The Geek State.
Minerva, take Paige and sneak out the secret tunnel. I'm turning myself in. Into what?
Alert. This is it.
First in friendship, fourth in podcasting. This is The Geek State.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of The Geek State. This is episode number 8, and we're looking at all the cool stuff that's going on in the world of geek this week, whether it's movies, video games, comics, TV shows, and so much more. And I can't get this show underway without bringing on our good buddy James. James, you ready for a good old podcast this evening?
I would say so. I would dare say my body is ready for this podcast.
I just got back from a big trip, and my brain is not quite. I don't know. You're away from home for so long, and you're working on other things, and then it's like I'm back. I'm ready to geek out and not think about work, and that's exciting. But what's more exciting is that it's not just the two of us this week, James. We've brought on board our good friend Jessica, and you might know her from the top of every episode as the voice that says funny things before we get started. Jessica, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Reason why we had to bring Jessica on board, because in the world of TV, I feel like, Jessica, you stay on, like, you're like the queen of peak TV. Like, I feel like anytime there's
maybe
I feel like there's, like, whenever there's new cool stuff going on, or if I need a recommendation, or maybe it's you find out that I haven't watched The Good Place yet. You're the one.
Okay, seriously though, have you watched it yet?
I've started it.
Okay, we're gonna need to hang up this call so you can get all the way through the end of season 3, and then we can, like, continue our friendship.
No. I have things to do. All
right. Well, for James's sake. But after this call.
Fair. I put on an episode when I'm at the gym, so not that I go a lot, so that's why I'm not like through more of the show than I am. But like that's my.
Well, it's about to get really good on The Good Place, so prepare to be swole if you're only watching it at the gym.
Fair enough. I kind of wanted to throw something out that I came across on the internet. It's this website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. Have either of y'all heard of that yet?
No, but that's an incredibly long URL.
It is. Thankfully, it's linked in the show notes, but we'll post it on Facebook. It's just it's a little like science experiment, I guess, with some AI. And you know how much we love like AI generated garbage, but this is this interesting thing where they take an aggregate photos just from people on the internet, public photos, and then they create from scratch a brand new person, and the results are pretty good. Every time you hit refresh, it creates a brand new person just for you.
This is delightful and troubling.
I just did it once, and I got a ethnic Jeff Goldblum for sure. So I'm gonna have to post that in these show notes so that you guys can enjoy this as well.
Oh, please do. I feel like we should run an experiment like on Twitter. And you could join us at the Geek State Pod, where we post a picture generated from this person does not exist and ask people to name it.
Yeah, this is like deeply troubling because they look like actual, like it doesn't.
There's some
maybe around like the glasses on some people, but for the most part, it just looks like photographs.
It really does, and if you click it enough, it'll be like babies. Just and like the lighting. Oh, here we go.
Oh, wow.
And that is ethnic Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anywho.
You see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to take catfishing to an entirely new level.
Yeah, the problem is
true. The only problem is you can't get more than one picture.
Yeah, exactly. So, James, you seem like the expert.
Yeah, but you seem to have really thought about this a lot.
Well, I've dated in the digital age.
That's true. You know your fair share. Well, just as an update, like when we were, I was just in Nashville this past week, and took my Bit Boy that we talked about last week on the show on with the flight, which was awesome. Actually got a lot of attention. I had someone behind me ask if I was playing on a Game Boy, which it kind of looks like one. But what I actually ended up doing was I signed up for the Marvel Unlimited. I don't know if either of y'all use that.
I do. I sign up for it once every 6 months.
Right, when the new stuff comes out.
That's right.
It was pretty cool. I've been reading some of the old Star Wars stuff that I missed out on, like Shadows of the Empire. And I'd love to do a show on Shadows of the Empire.
I would love that as well.
Talk about the video games, the comic book, the book, the toys, the whole. They made a soundtrack for that whole thing. Even though there was
I am the proud owner of the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack, Chris.
I am too. I got that as well. I remember just thinking, like, this is the weirdest thing ever. So we'll talk about that. But I wanted to, before we get into the news and headlines, we're going to be talking about TV pilots, because it's pilot season. We watched a unreleased, unsold pilot this week, and we're going to talk about that. But before we go forward, there's this great YouTube series that Star Wars has been doing, where they do, it's like Star Wars by the numbers, and they've done episodes, I think, like on like stormtroopers, you know, how, like the body count, basically. I could be wrong on that one, but the latest one is how many times the Force is referenced in a Star Wars movie, and it runs through every single time they say it. So it's called Star Wars by the numbers. Now, the total number count is 161, but I wanted to ask y'all, just top of mind, best guess, which Star Wars movie references the Force the most?
Ooh.
Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Jessica.
Oh, wait, I missed it, I think. But
it's surprising which one it is. When I tell you what the answer is, you're going to be like, oh, of course.
I want to say Empire Strikes Back.
Both really good guesses, and I don't have the totals for both of those, but those are wrong.
Prove it. You don't have the totals.
Hold on. Okay, fine.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
There's no
fake news.
There's not time for this. The Star Wars movie that references the Force the most, which is surprising because it features like the least amount of like Jedi or any of that, is Rogue One.
Rogue One.
I'm one with the Force, the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. Because it's repeated over and over and over and over and over again. It really wraps it up.
I wasn't even thinking that those were counted, but there it is. Oh,
there it is. Let's get to the headlines. All right, so Hugh Jackman just set a Guinness Book World Record for playing Wolverine. Jackman was awarded the certificate for holding the record of longest career as a live-action superhero, and he also actually shares that with Patrick Stewart, because they've both been playing Wolverine and Professor Xavier, respectively, for 16 years, 228 days, starting with X-Men in 2000 and ending with Logan in 2017, which...
Nice.
It's kind of crazy, right? Like, to think that's... Like, I can't think of anybody else as Wolverine because he's played him for so long.
You can't picture
forever.
Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine, as the rumors were circulating last week?
No.
Yeah, that would hurt my brain.
Jessica, as a big Harry Potter fan, what do you... It's total speculation that's...
Yeah, I don't really see it. No, not. Although I'm able to see Daniel Radcliffe as other things besides Harry Potter. I don't know if you guys have seen Miracle Workers. That's his new like limited series that he's on. And he's good, but no matter how good he is, he's never going to be Wolverine.
Swiss Army Man was good as well when he was in that as a Swiss Army Man.
I still haven't seen that. I feel like that's something that's just totally.
It is bonkers.
Yeah.
I do wonder about this, though. Like, is there any caveat to you have to reprise the role every once in a while, kind of like maintaining a copyright? Can no one else be that character in between? Well, that's obviously not the case because McAvoy was Xavier. But it's like, because I feel like
because how is it not
in
like
30
Lou
years? Lou Ferrigno. Well, he hasn't reprised it as the Hulk.
Right.
So
has he not though? I mean, there's got to be somewhere where he made an appearance. Although I guess it wouldn't have been like in a feature or I don't know.
But it's like in 30 years could Robert Downey Jr. like come back as Tony Stark, like old Tony Stark, and then it's like, oh, well, that record's broken because he did it. Be like, suck it, 16 years, 229 days.
I think by these rules, because we've had McAvoy play Xavier, I think that technically then that would be correct. But you know what I would love? I would love to see Michael Keaton come back and be like old man Bruce Wayne in a like Batman Beyond movie, and then he would take that record.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I would be totally down for that.
You had me at I'd like to see Michael Keaton come back.
Well, he was Birdman
and the Vulture.
True.
He had that speech written and everything.
Oh, poor guy. James, we got some news from Nintendo, don't we?
We did get some news from Nintendo. So, longtime president of North America Nintendo, Reggie My Body Is Ready Fils-Aimé, has stepped down as president of North America. His replacement will be an individual who is under him as the senior vice president of marketing Senior Vice President of Marketing North America. His name is Doug Bowser, interestingly enough. Reggie had a long tenure with Nintendo. He started back in late 2003. He was introduced to the gaming community with a bang at E3 in 2004. Did I say 13? I meant 2003. In 2004, he made the statement when he first came on stage at E3, "My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names, and we're about making games," which is something that you would never expect from Nintendo. He really did set the tone, kind of the way that they wanted to start presenting themselves, being the forerunner of putting good games out. That's what he knew that their bread and butter needed to be software, and really that's what he made with that statement. He kind of slightly reinvigorated the console wars that E3 by saying that Microsoft doesn't care what you do as long as it's on their operating system, and Sony just wants every one of your entertainment dollars. And he was saying that, we don't want all of your entertainment dollars, we want your game entertainment dollars, and that's what we're focused on. Obviously, he had a very successful career. And a meme-filled career with his "My Body Is Ready" statement when demoing the Wii Fit board. And he oversaw the launches of the DS, the Wii, the 3DS, the Wii U, and the Switch. So, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, whatever that is, 4 out of 5. That ain't bad.
That's a good record. That's a good record.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. Although the 3DS had a pretty bad launch too. They had to refund people money.
Yep,
give them free games. So
yep, that happened to me. I'm a Nintendo ambassador, or I had the Nintendo ambassador certificate on my 3DS, and
that's right.
It kept sending me games and stuff. I thought that was a good customer service thing, for them to do. And what a good time to go out, with the launch of the Switch and that being a success. I wonder if it was sort of like, okay, I'm kind of done. I want to move on. Let's launch the Wii U and make it great. Oh, oops. I need another shot at this,
Yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with it. I mean, he's had a career that didn't just stay in video games. I can't remember exactly where he came from. I know the person who's taken his place, Doug Bowser, he worked for EA for a little bit before that was the head of marketing for Procter & Gamble. So he's definitely got a resume for him or with him. And so hopefully he keeps the steam train moving forward.
I like that.
Yeah, he worked at EA and then someone hit him like 6 times and then he, was gone.
I'm glad you made that joke, because I'm thinking, like, how funny is it? I mean, it's sort of inevitable. The guy, tries and tries and tries to take over the kingdom, and finally Bowser finally rules over Nintendo. Like,
yep,
it writes itself. In other news, in France, lightsaber dueling is now recognized as an official sport. And this is basically really more or less a PR marketing kind of campaign. It's an effort to appeal to younger generations, to try to get them into the sport of fencing. And the duels are basically going to follow the same rules of fencing. Points are awarded depending on where the blade makes contact. Head or body gets you 5 points, arms, legs, 3 points, and hands just 1 point. See, you didn't know you were going to learn about fencing when you tuned into the Geek State. The first person to get 15 points wins, but if the match doesn't go over is not over in 3 minutes, the person with the highest score automatically wins. I'm totally down for this. I think this is really cool. I think as long as the matches are televised and then like sound effects are added.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
I want Ben
Otherwise,
Burt.
it's just sad fencing.
They do it with the FX lightsabers. That's the official equipment of the lightsaber dueling sport.
Right. I just think
they make the noise on their own.
I just think like the sound effects,
and the people make the noises too. Let's be real.
They're making them with their mouths. I want Ben Burt off to the side with like that with the shotgun mic, and he's like doing live Foley work of the lightsaber matches as it's going down. I think both of those things would be wildly entertaining.
I'm conflicted with this. I'm for it because it's obviously, recognition for Star Wars, but I'm kind of against it being that it is a sport where the title, the marquee item doesn't even exist in real life. So it's a little strange.
It is a little bit, but I think it'll be...
I feel like if Quidditch is a sport, lightsaber dueling can be a sport. I do wish it kind of had its own...
Stop telling yourself Quidditch is a sport. I've seen it live. It was terrible.
It involves running. That's a sport to me. I'll take it.
Running with a stick. They do make them have the stick between their legs, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, if you're not on a broom, you clearly can't fly, obviously.
It's true.
But I do wish it had like its own rules. Instead, it's like we just like painted Star Wars over fencing. You like it, right? It says Star Wars now. You like it, right?
That's all it takes for me, man.
That's true. Is it even like a different saber? I don't even know. I assume they call them fencing sabers. Like, is it even different?
It's an epi, E-P-E-E.
Oh, an epi.
Use that in your crossword puzzles, friends.
There we go. No, so in researching the story, they are using the polycarbonate lightsaber, like the light up. So you're not just swinging around an actual epi. Is that And so you're not just doing that dressed in Jedi robes. So that's.
Are you dressed in Jedi robes?
Yeah. Do you have to wear your Jedi robes?
This could be a whole new. I might be back on board with this.
I don't think it counts if you're dressed in that white like fencing outfit with that weird mask. I don't think and just replacing the epi with a lightsaber. I think you have to be.
What if you're dressed in a white fencing outfit but with a stormtrooper mask?
Well, then you're going to be terrible at this, right? Because you can't. There's no field of view.
Yeah, you won't hit anything.
Right.
Take out the official scanning.
This is a feature presentation.
And now, on with the show.
It's pilot season in Hollywood, and if you follow any folks on Instagram that like from your old favorite shows that aren't on shows anymore, you might know that they're out auditioning and trying to make it again on television. The way, if you're unfamiliar with how this goes, they produce tons of pilot episodes of TV shows, like 1 episodes, and then they shop them around to be sold. Sometimes, in a lot of times, it's a network that says, we want you, this creator, make us a pilot. We're going to order 1 episode, and then it may or may not ever see the light of day. And thanks to YouTube and other places like it, we've been able to see some of these shows that have never been aired. In some cases, sometimes they air once and then they're never seen again. And so I went online and kind of found some unsold pilots. We're going to be talking about one pilot in particular that we watched on YouTube, called the Elvira Show, which I had no idea existed until researching, which to me honestly was so personally awesome to find out that there was this show. But the first one that I came across that I didn't know existed, or was in development of, was Buffy the Animated Series. And it was Joss Whedon was developing it. And apparently was going to be too expensive. The animation and stuff was going to be too expensive. And Joss Whedon said he felt like he had just basically a ton of cash ready, for whatever network wanted it. That it was going to do really well, and he was really excited about it. But it didn't come about. They started working on it back in 2001. Jessica, were you a Buffy?
So at the time, I was not a Buffy fan, but later I went back and watched all of Buffy, all of Angel too, actually, which I did not ever think I would be that person, but I did. And it's really, really good. So I don't know how this didn't go, because it would have, I mean, Buffy fans, like someone would have made a boatload of money on this.
I think so. Yeah. James, what about you? Were you, did you watch Buffy?
I have never seen an episode of Buffy. I watched one episode of Angel, not knowing what it was when it first came on Netflix, and then realized that it was a sequel to Buffy, and I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to watch this without seeing the original. And then I saw how many episodes of Buffy existed, and was like, maybe not right now.
Sort of like Supernatural.
I've never hopped back on that boat.
Yeah. Oh, I also have watched all of Supernatural. Again, I don't know how that happened.
How?
How do you not know how that happened? You clearly set aside time.
I did. I didn't. I guess I had some friends that were super into it, and I was like, well, let me see what all this is about. So I watched the pilot, but part of it is at work, I'll sometimes have something on like in the background because I do spreadsheets and I can't listen to music. Something about the rhythm of the music weirds me out when I'm trying to do math. I don't know. It's weird. So I need something that's very talky. So I'll watch like West Wing or something Aaron Sorkin-y. But then I ended up watching like all 13 seasons of Supernatural over the course of like a year at work while I was working.
That's impressive. It started out on the WB and it's continued on through the CW. Like, I don't know how many, what are we on, season like 12 or?
I think season 14 is the new one coming out.
Oh,
I
it's
think.
still on?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it just got renewed. It's crazy. There should not be that many seasons. I will watch every episode. I just can't. I can't not watch them now.
It's sort of like one of the Law and Order. Those shows go on for forever.
Yeah.
All right. So this.
And you know what? If a Buffy animated series came out, I'd watch every episode of it too.
No
it's
doubt.
good.
No doubt.
I like Buffy.
This next one. This to me is the weirdest pilot that I came across while looking this up. This is a show called, it was from 1990. NBC actually aired this pilot and was never seen again. It's called Where's Rodney? And it followed an unpopular teenager named Rodney who discovers that he has the strange and very specific magical power, the ability to make Rodney Dangerfield appear anytime he needs advice. It's so unfortunate NBC did not like this and did not pick it up. Like,
who is this for?
That's what I'm thinking. Like who
what
is the
audience on this?
He gets no respect.
You guys just have no respect. I mean, this is for the American person. This is for everyone.
Sure.
This type of comedy is universal. Have you never seen Ladybugs? I mean, come on.
In the Venn diagram of teenagers and Rodney Dangerfield fans, I'm sure there's a huge overlap.
I'm sure. What's the one where he goes back to college? Back to school?
What is it? Back to School?
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious, right? So maybe this was.
I was 3, so
yeah.
I will say this was a time when Rodney Dangerfield's team was earning every dollar because they tried so hard to make him popular with young people.
Absolutely. Well, they did, like James just said, he was in, he did Ladybugs with Sequest's own Jonathan Brandis. Look at that.
That's his full name.
I think Sequest got Ladybug's own Jonathan Brandis.
No, I think Sequest. I don't know which one came first. No, I honestly, I don't know which one came first. I think they were both at the same time that they were going on. I'm really impressed with myself that somehow I was able to drop a Sequest reference in context with what we were talking about, which is pretty impressive. Something that wasn't impressive was
so rare and weird.
No, it's not weird. Something else that's rare and weird is that Fox had a TV series based on the 1984 Revenge of the Nerds, but it was in 1991, and it actually had 4 of the original cast members on this episode, and it was just basically the plot to the movie, basically, and it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I think this could have done well. I think it could have done well had there not have already been many Revenge of the Nerds movies, right? Like if this were to have come about later.
That and my only concern is the Revenge of Nerds movies, weren't they kind of not hard R's, but they were definitely rated R. So like to try and move that into a TV show wouldn't work so well on Fox, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think,
Yeah.
I think, you know, obviously if we had no reference to a Revenge of the Nerds movie, and they just came out with, you know, here's these nerds and they have their own fraternity and you know, this other fraternity on campus is jerks and hijinks ensue. I mean, basically we have Revenge of the Nerds every week on CBS. With
Kind of, yeah.
Big Bang Theory, is that what that is?
I don't want to mention the name of the show. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Nobody
Trust
will know.
me,
Don't worry.
They'll be fine. Yeah, and the other part about this is like I feel like in our society nowadays, when things come out like Ghostbusters or whatever, everyone's like, "Oh, you're just trying to remake stuff. You do something original." It's like, no, they've been doing this for a long time. It just never catches on, and it's still not really catching on. I mean,
And I would have liked to see a Revenge of the Nerds that took place, like, you know, 7 years later or whatever it is. Like, where are the nerds now? Like, tell me the next part of the nerd story. If you've got the original guys, they're hysterical.
Right. Anthony
why
Edwards
not?
was too busy on ER at the time, I think.
like he's raising a kid who's having difficulty coping with the fact that he too is a nerd.
But
like
it's set in high
type of
school.
thing.
Or his kid is a jock and he has to figure that life out.
Or he has two kids.
Twins.
But yeah, but like
Because he ended up marrying the cheerleader. This is all making sense. We are writing this show, you know, Revenge of the Nerds. Fox, give us a call back if you still have the rights.
Exactly. Yeah, like James, you just mentioned like remakes and stuff weren't really the thing at the time, and the WB also was trying to do something with Lost in Space back in 2004. They put together this, and I think John Woo may have been a part of like maybe have been an executive producer on this. It was called The Robinsons Lost in Space, and it was produced for the WB, and apparently was incredibly expensive. You can see this pilot
the
episode.
Dove budget alone for a John Woo Lost in Space would be astronomical.
Doves in Space.
Do doves fly in space?
They kind of
Do we even
float.
know?
That's one of the things they were going to have to explore, James.
They had to send ships up for research purposes.
Yeah, and as they explored it, somebody would pull two guns out from behind them. Again, because John Woo.
And kick over a table.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had to take those doves up into what the vomit comet that big that airplane that goes up and down.
Yeah,
Do
they
you
blew
think-
all the money on cleaning up dove vomit.
I honestly would love. I'm sure PETA would have a heyday with that if you took a bunch of birds on that, and you know, it's funny enough to watch humans you know struggle to figure that out, but just to see what happens to birds in zero gravity would be hilarious. I've watched some of this pilot. Like I said, it's on YouTube. It's like broken up into 4 parts. It's not a very good quality version of the show, but it's all that exists. It's definitely very like WB series, like Everwood, you know, one of those things, but but we're in space. There were some differences too, like Penny was a baby. There was another son, so it wasn't just Will. There was like a son named David or Dave, who was like kidnapped early on in the adventure, and I think probably the plot of the season would be rescuing him or something like that. But one fun fact that I didn't realize, and when I saw this, I went back and I watched some of it. The set from the Jupiter 2, you know, because they built this giant set for this pilot that, you know, never made it. They sold it to the production company for Battlestar Galactica, and it was used for the Battlestar Pegasus. So, the only difference is the Jupiter 2 was very bright, like the lighting and stuff was very bright, and the Battlestar Pegasus is very dark and kind of moody and kind of like a submarine. But if you watch the pilot, you're like, oh yeah, that's the Battlestar Pegasus. It's kind of crazy.
Nice.
Good way to save some money. So this week, because we're talking unsold pilots and that sort of thing, television, I stumbled across the Elvira Show, which was a sitcom that starred Elvira as herself. And it was and so we've all watched it. We're going to talk about it, but here's the synopsis for those if you're interested. It is available on YouTube. The Elvira Show is about Elvira, who moves to Manhattan, Kansas, with her wacky aunt Minerva and their talking cat. Elvira is working as a fortune teller and selling love potions on the side. Everything is going just fine until Elvira falls for a cop named Chip, who is actually he was actually undercover at the time, and trying to bust her for selling phony love potions that put one of her customers into the hospital. Elvira learns about her long lost niece Paige, who has just showed up at their doorstep and plans on staying for a while. It sounds a lot like I just described Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's Elvira. And so general impressions. I first of all, just as some background, I really love Elvira's like brand of comedy. It's cheesy and campy and not very subtle. If you've ever seen if you've ever seen Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, the movie from like 1988, I think. Have y'all ever seen that?
I have not. That was what I was going to say.
It's been like 20 years.
I'm familiar with Elvira in photo alone. Like I just know her. I know what she looks like, and yeah, that's about it. She's
that crazy lady that shows up every Halloween at a Bud Light sidekick display at a gas station. Right, like
pretty much.
I mean, Elvira's had this, long career of, introducing, really bad movies, late night type of stuff, and then she had a movie that was 1988 and was basically Elvira doing her TV show, and she's trying to make it to Las Vegas to have her own career, and car breaks down into a small town where she finds out that her relative has died, and there's a whole issue trying to figure out the will, and mischief and magic and other things happen. It's actually a really fun watch. It's not, I don't think, available streaming anywhere, but it is a fun watch. So finding this show on YouTube, I was really happy to see kind of this era of Elvira and her kind of comedy, because it kind of feels like a relative of the movie, but it's not. General overview impressions from you guys. James, why don't you get started?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it felt like a grown-up version of Bewitched to me a little bit. Just kind of the setups and the jokes were more. It kind of had the same theme, being like you have the wacky aunt, or in Bewitched it was her mother, but it's like it kind of had that same setup. But the jokes themselves were a little more adult, I guess.
Very.
Her talking about her bust and things like that. They were also very on the nose, if you will, but I mean, it was enjoyable, I guess. I don't know that I would want to watch, a whole season of it, but I also don't know how many more stories they could come up with, because obviously this one got resolved, then shows got resolved into 20 minutes pretty much, and I don't know how many more 20-minute stories they would have been able to, would have come up with. You already knocked out the love potion story, so I don't know, maybe, I don't know, make her pretty, but it's like I don't know what other themes you would have. I think to explore. They would definitely
have had to have had some kind of ongoing feud with the cop, with the female cop. That would be kind of the Marcy Darcy of this type of episode. They're the kind of the.
Speaking of the cop, worst wig in the business. That thing was awful.
Okay. That was in my notes. I was like, this show has the worst wigs. Everybody's wig was terrible.
And the whole, I mean, it never leaves the house too. I mean, except for that one scene at the cop, at the police station.
Yeah.
It's not even the house. It's all in that entryway.
Yeah. It's just the living room and Elvira's little psychic parlor.
What set was that living room? It looks so familiar. I was like, is this Murphy Brown's house? Like, why do I know this house?
Oh, I wonder.
And I'm gonna have to look it up, because it's some other set that was just redressed, but I can't put my finger on what set it was.
Did anybody notice? Maybe
Blossom? Blossom might have had the same setup.
Did any of y'all immediately recognize Mona from Who's the Boss?
Yes. I was like, Mona! And so then I had to Google it, because I was like, well, is this before before or after Who's the Boss?
It was after.
And it was right after. I was like, oh, this is okay. Okay.
She was on like that was on from like 1984 to 92. Like,
yeah. So I was a little surprised that she went to this after Who's the Boss, but I guess Elvira's a big name at that time too, so maybe it made sense.
True. Jessica, what do you think just overall like impressions of this pilot?
It was not my thing, but it made me realize how far TV has come. Like I had a really hard time putting myself back in a 1993 mindset of like, where were we then? Like, how would this have compared to other shows that were on at that time? Because I think that's around the time that TV kind of switched from being like that laugh tracky I mean, we still had laugh tracks in sitcoms, but like it was kind of on the cusp of the transition to more like TV like we have today.
Right.
So I think the old style of it was just really jarring. And I don't know if I could ever get past that, which is obviously not the pilot's fault. It was doing 1993 and 1993.
Right, exactly. The show, this was it was 1993, and we're just 2 years away from Friends.
Yep.
Which, you're right. The shift in style and stuff was just there. Like if this would have been a 1988 pilot, I think it would have fared much better, except for I don't think that Elvira's, double entendres work on network television.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like it skirts towards being edgy, but it doesn't go far enough to actually be edgy. So it's in that like weird no man's land of like uncomfortable, because it's not like, it doesn't cross the line enough to be funny, but it's not really a joke without crossing the line. It's just, I think a lot of them landed kind of with a thud, when if it hadn't been networked, like say it had been a cable, like maybe it could have been a little bit, they could have pushed the limits more and really like punched up the jokes. It
could have been really good on like HBO or something. Yeah. Like they could have taken it into a whole different direction. Honestly, probably it would have done well with the initial lineup on Fox when it launched.
Yeah.
With Married with Children and, that kind of edgy humor that they were going for. I think it could have done really well. This was developed for CBS at the time. And yeah, so it did not do well. It didn't actually ever air. And I'm really surprised that it's available on the internet. I think, the jokes and stuff that, land really well. My favorite line, it's at the very end. And James, you kind of alluded to it when the cops come in and the female cop comes in and is like, "This is a bust." And she's all like, "No, lady, this is a bust." It's like,
yeah, it made my skin crawl off. It was so bad.
So in this episode, we've got a couple things like we said in the synopsis. We've got the undercover cop coming over trying to get Elvira to sell him some love potions so he can take it back to the police and all that, because somebody that she sold love potion to earlier got hospitalized, which was only really the result of her dancing in her living room around a red candle naked, and she got pneumonia. So
yeah, how long was that supposed, like the opening? I thought the opening scene took place like the same day as the rest of the show, and then she's like, "No, I've been in the hospital and now we're engaged." And I was like, wait a minute, how much time has passed since the opening scene of this show? That was very unclear to me.
It does feel like maybe just a couple of days.
Yeah.
I think the real star of this, while Elvira clearly is the real star, I think Catherine Headland has the Aunt Minerva, or Mona from Who's the Boss. I think she really comes out as like having some of the most funny one-liners that aren't double entendre, that aren't that aren't dirty. Mm-hmm. I like her. She has this little moment when Paige, the niece that shows up at the door, who's been living with like nuns on an island, and so she's not in the whole like witch thing. And I think we failed to mention that both Elvira and the aunt are witches. Did I mention that? I can't remember. If I did.
Yeah. Did we not say that?
They're witches.
The aunt is a witch because every item of clothing she wears has like a spider or like stars, or she
dresses
like a catalog witch.
Right.
She's the Oriental trading of witches.
Yes.
When Paige discovers that they're witches, Katherine Hedlund has her witch laugh, like her little witch laugh. It's like, the classic thing.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Both of you, you're witches. Witches? Us?
There was a joke. I guess they were trying to figure out if the niece is also a witch or not. And they said something about like, put her in the bathtub to see if she floats. And I thought that was funny because it was like a throwaway.
Yeah. And then she's like, be subtle. Let's try to figure out if she's a witch. And so Minerva walks over and says, so when did you consummate your, what was it? Like something with the incubus.
Your union with the incubus. Or...
Yeah. Elvira's like, oh, I mean, she said that she gets constipated when she rides the bus.
Yeah.
I think all in all, it was as a one shot, kind of a thing. I think it still is probably one of the more enjoyable pilot episodes of a show that I've seen. That didn't ever get sold,
That makes one of us,
yeah.
Chris. But I guess it's 0 for 1 on pilot episodes that I've seen, so that didn't make it.
Some shows make it to full season orders that are completely unwatchable. So,
That's true.
True. I'd like to think that they would have essentially reshot this whole thing if it ever made it to order, that they would have punched it up and redone it. Because I don't think this pilot was ready for TV. But I think there's kernels of stuff that could have blossomed into something really funny and cool and campy.
Yeah.
Also, if your show has a talking cat in it, you need to let me know before the cat talks. It was such a hard cut to the cat talking. And then it didn't really describe whether everyone could hear the cat or just Elvira could hear the cat. I was very confused by the speaking cat.
Especially because at the beginning, the cat talks while she's giving that kind of love potion stuff to that lady that comes over. The cat says something and she talks to the cat, and it's only barely alluded to.
The sassy gay cat, apparently, by the way, because
again,
I don't know if they were
Sabrina.
allowed to have sassy gay friends that early in the 90s.
Right.
So they made
And they had to make it a cat.
Right. It's a different era. Something that was kind of interesting looking at some of the research and history. I found some trivia that was pretty cool. So when they were auditioning the role for Elvira's niece, Paige, the choice came down to 2 actresses. Phoebe Augustine, who is the actress that ended up getting the role. Looking her up on IMDb, she's not done much since then. She was in Twin Peaks and in the Twin Peaks movie, the Fire Walk. What is it? Walk with
Me.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. But another actress also auditioned for the role. She did not get it, and that was Hilary Swank. And years later, Hilary Swank was saying that she ran into Cassandra Peterson, who is Elvira, at the gym and said hello to Cassandra. And Elvira, Cassandra Peterson, said, "You were so talented. I hope you're still in show business. What are you doing now?" And Hilary's response was, "Well, I just won an Academy Award."
So I guess she turned out okay.
Yeah, dodged a bullet there.
Just think it could have been $1 Million Phoebe.
Had roles been reversed.
Things had gone the other way.
Yeah. And then also, I didn't know this as well. The 1988 movie was actually a backdoor pilot for a potential sitcom on NBC. So Elvira was like hot commodity, I guess. Everybody wanted.
She was determined to make essentially this show, which I think is, I don't know if semi-autobiographical makes sense, but I know Cassandra Peterson is from Manhattan, Kansas. Mm-hmm. So I think she just really wanted to make a show about being the weird lady in town. I
think it's awesome. I definitely enjoy it, and I have had some fun sharing it with friends that I know, like Elvira. So being that it's television pilot season, we're kind of TV experts, as you could tell from our Revenge of the Nerds script punch up we just did. And so before the show started, I asked everybody to prepare a pilot, a little brief little pitch of our own pilot TV shows, and we'll ask our Twitter audience and folks on Facebook to give us their opinions on which one of these shows should get picked up. And Jessica, since you're a guest here on the show for the first time, since we've been over here on the Geek State, why don't you go first?
Well, I actually kind of blew my pitch already because my pitch was going to be nerd parents raising a popular kid. I'm in a very like mom place in my life right now. And my husband and I are both big weirdos. So I was like, what are we going to do if our daughter grows up and she's like a cheerleader and is popular and her problems are like, all the boys have asked me out and I don't know what to do because I have no advice for that. So that was going to be my pitch of like, how do I apply my nerdy knowledge to help someone with actual real life non-nerdy problems.
Does your show have a title?
It did not have a title. Oh. You said pitch. You didn't say title.
That's
I'm so
true.
Sorry.
That's true. I'll go next. So my show is called Comic Cop San Diego, San Diego. Undercover cop Chad Thunderbunk is the foremost expert on crime and comic book aficionado. While providing security at Comic-Con, he stumbles upon a crime ring and suits up as a cosplayer to solve crime as his alter ego, the Comic Cop.
The Comic Cop.
Crickets.
I'm thrilled. Sounds great. I feel like Jessica and I didn't take this challenge as seriously as Chris did.
Nobody takes this as seriously as Chris did.
That's true.
True.
So mine is, so I had two ideas. I got rid of one of them. I'll just spit it out super quick. But the first one was Star Trek, but underwater with a talking dolphin. I didn't think it was going to catch on. I thought there was no way that it would win. It was going to be an immediate pass by everyone.
Yeah.
Hard pass by everyone. But no, I think that unfortunately mine only works with ABC because they have the license of this. But I think I would really like to see a buddy cop show in the Star Wars universe with two, like, not stormtroopers, but whatever their, like, detective unit, their NCIS would be.
It's IESB, I think.
IESB, yes.
Something like that.
That's what I would like to see. Just, you could place it potentially on, in Mos Eisley or something like that, where you already have some kind of through lines that you could attach to. And characters you could attach to, but I just think that would be really interesting and almost because you see so much of the empire being this bad thing, but you also don't see that those people. A lot of those people probably don't know that what they're doing is quote unquote bad. You know what I mean? They're just in this situation and they're just doing what everyone else is doing. And they look at the rebellion as terrorists and things like that. So I think it would be pretty interesting to see that and maybe have more of a lighthearted look into the Empire.
So it's a comedy?
Not a comedy, but like kind of an NCIS where they make jokes. Sure, one of them's got to be funny. The evidence guy, he's got to be weird and quirky, right?
It's the hacker. There's a hacker girl, and she wears crazy glasses and wears pigtails. Because that's
and you could definitely do all the spin-offs because you could have your Mos Eisley, but then you could have your like Tatooine and colon whatever like planets.
Right, Imperial investigators, Coruscant Knights.
Yep.
Right. Funny story about quirky NCIS girl who solves crimes and things. When I was at Dragon Con, we saw a person cosplayed as her that was really good, and I took a picture with her and sent it to my stepmom because she loves that show. And she was like, "Oh my God, is she nice in person?" I'm like, "That's not really her. Like, she doesn't just walk around in that attire."
Fun story. That time when we came up to your neck of the woods and I felt like they were watching that.
Yes, I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. Well, by they, it was my stepmother. My father, it's on. He's not really paying attention. He doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. I'll post these things up on, we'll make it a little Twitter poll and a thing on Facebook. So jump over to facebook.com/thegeekstate. On Twitter, we're at the Geek State Pod. And let your voice be heard. Which of these shows would you think should be the best and be on TV? And we'll leave that up to you.
Okay, and I'm going to drop in and do a pitch for something that's only quasi-related. So on the Discord, I talked about how there's a podcast I really like called the Dead Pilot Society, where they read pilots that were never shot, and they get like celebrities. It's a thing they do in LA, and so they'll get like actual actors to read it. But your pitch, Chris, reminded me there was an episode at the end of December called American Alien, and so it was a pilot. It's about these people in like Nevada or Arizona, I forget where, who accidentally like become cops for aliens, like space aliens that live in Arizona. It's like a brother who knows a lot about sci-fi and a sister who's just starting to figure it out. It's really good though, and it sounds a lot like the same kind of like humor that you mentioned in your pilot. So if you liked Chris's pitch, you should go back and listen to episode I think it was 33 of the Dead Pilot Society American Alien, because you will like that as well. And
something you mentioned in the Discord, when we had Tony Thaxton on a couple episodes ago, and he mentioned Ben Blacker
and Ben Acker,
and one of them is on that, right?
Yes, Ben Blacker, Ben Acker, Ben.
One of them.
One of the Ben Blacker is a co-host of the Dead Pilot Society. So in my mind, when he said he ran into Ben Blacker at a comedy show, I was like, oh, it was for sure a taping of Dead Pilot Society, even though there's no reason to believe that. That is my headcanon.
Let's look around the region and take our pick of the week.
Shut up and take my money.
All right, each week we like to leave our stamp of approval on whatever we're kind of into at the time, whether it's movies or a gadget or whatever it might be, and it's our pick of the week. And I'm going to let James go first with what he's got.
First of all, I just want to say that it's becoming a running bit that you're like, I'm going to let him go first. I go first every time. So we're just going to keep doing that.
Sure.
But my pick this week is a movie. It is Overlord. It's a J.J. Abrams produced film. A lot of rumors were going around that it was a Cloverfield movie. It is not a Cloverfield movie. It is its own standalone movie. It takes place in World War II, and it kind of delves into the Nazis' affiliation with the occult. It's very interesting. Essentially, it's a zombie movie that takes place in World War II. Super fun, super creepy. It's kind of low budget, but what they do with the special effects is still really good. A lot of not very many big name actors in it. The only one that I really noticed, I didn't know his name, but it's Pilu Aspect, who is also Elon. He is Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. So that's how I recognize him. But it's really good. The writing isn't, I don't think the writing is 100% the best, but the movie, the tone, everything, the opening scene is awesome. So I just, huge fan.
What,
nice.
Is it available on any streaming platforms, or is it only rental at the moment?
I'm not sure. I rented it at the Family Video down the road because I have one of those now, and I'm a proud member.
Like a store, a video store?
Yeah, Family Video. Going there later today to return it.
Like the physical copy?
James lives in 1993.
Huh.
It's nice.
What a fun throwback.
It's fun to go around and just look. You can browse. They have a section you can get 2 movies for $1.
That's pretty great, actually.
For 5 days, too.
I want to go
pretty
to there.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, come on up to Fort Worth and we'll take a trip to the Family Video.
Oh, let's make a video. Let's do that. We need to do that so bad. So my pick of the week is The Umbrella Academy. And honestly, it's the best thing that's on Netflix at the moment, in my opinion. I know, Jessica, you and Daniel have been watching this as well. Have y'all finished the whole?
Yes. Daniel finished it a couple days ago. I finished it last night at like 2 a.m. because I could not stop watching it. And it's tremendously good, and I'm about to restart it because I feel like it's so dense that I can go back and see a million new things.
Yeah, I'm only at episode 5. I downloaded a bunch of I know. I downloaded 5 episodes on my iPad before leaving for Nashville this week, and so I watched a couple episodes on the flight there. I watched an episode while I was at the conference, and then I watched the 2 more episodes on the flight back, and now I'm kind of like in that place where there's only 10 episodes for this season, and I'm kind of like I want to ration it out a little bit because I know it'll be likely a year or so before we get a second season to this. But the show is phenomenal. Ellen Page is great. The rest of the cast is also amazing. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't read the comics. I only knew it was the guy from My Chemical Romance, right?
Who wrote the comic, right?
Yeah, and I think it's cool. So if you like X-Men, but if you wish X-Men was directed by like Wes Anderson,
yes,
there's a scene. There's that opening scene, the dance where they start playing music, and there's everybody starts kind of breaking out and dance, and the camera zooms out really far so you can see the whole house. It kind of looks like a dollhouse, and everybody's dancing.
Yeah,
I was like, this is like a Wes Anderson shot. Like, this is incredible, and
very much so. Very much so.
I like the way the mystery and everything's kind of working its way out, and I love Hazel and Cha-Cha and like all of the weird and crazy stuff that's kind of happening on it. And if you haven't had a chance, sit down and enjoy the Umbrella Academy, because it is incredible. And now I kind of want to find the comics. I want to find the comics now. But I don't want to spoil myself, because I feel like it's an adaptation, so it might. I don't know how long the comics went.
It might, but here's the thing. Having watched all the episodes, I still have a million questions that they didn't even come close to answering.
Good.
So I think there's a lot to mine there. Like, I think there's a lot of depth that they just can't get into on TV. So I think the comics are going to be well worth the read, in my opinion.
And once I finish, I feel like that's probably going to happen once I get this show edited and posted, that I'll be able to sit back and relax and watch the rest of this show. Well, Jessica, first of all, thanks so much for joining us this week on the show. It's been awesome to have your voice on every episode, and even better to have you actually join us in the main section of the show to talk TV. We'll definitely need to get you back on board. Let's invite your husband, if he wants to, also join us for a future episode.
I'll try and talk him into it.
Where can people find you on the interweb? Because I know you've got a show and stuff too. So plug away.
Sure. Yeah. We have a podcast that we do sometimes. It's called Love That Show. So we're on Twitter at Love That Show. Or you can go to lovethatshow.com to find our podcast. We talk about TV or kind of whatever at this point that interests us. And then I'm on Twitter at Jess Fudd, and I tweet sometimes.
Yeah. And you can also find her in our Discord server. If you want to join our Discord server and join the conversation, you can find the link on Facebook. And I'll post it again on Twitter just to invite people on, or just direct message me and I will share with you the invite link. You can find more of us all over the internet, depending on where you are. You can get us on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn. You can download and install the Amazon skill for your talking speaker that I'm trying not to say her name right now, but you can install this skill, and you can ask her to play the latest episode of the podcast, which is pretty cool. If you have a second, go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and review to help other people find us and recommend us. And join us over on Facebook and Twitter. And do us a favor, since we are still a new show and we've got new folks coming on every single week, help us spread the word. Hit that retweet button, hit that share button on Facebook, and help us reach other cool geeks like yourself. So from all of us here at the Geek State, stay excellent to each other, and we'll see you next time.
This is a bust! No, this is a bust.
This is the freshest show since Will Smith left. Blah, 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 blah. I wrote a tongue twister. This is the freshest show since Will Smith left West Philadelphia. This is the freshest show since Will Smith left West Philadelphia. I don't know why I kept doing that, because that's so unlikely to actually be used.